Come on, Professor, come on. No time for that. I can't go now. Professor, there's a big lizard back there, and he's heading this way. Now, get aboard.
Leave me alone, Mr. Kirby. I'm not leaving now.
Come on, Tuck. Okay, Professor, it's your funeral.
Hey there, Adrenalheads. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Mark.
And welcome to Adrenaline Cinema. And the movie we are covering this time around is from 1969, another Ray Harry Hausen movie, The Valley of Gwangi.
Yes, and the synopsis for this particular movie is a struggling Wild West stunt show hopes to make its fortune with a miniature horse from a hidden valley, but the discovery of large prehistoric beasts there leads to deadly danger. Bum bum bum.
Ooh, danger. And I've always known, like, the little horses always have trouble speaking because they're always just a little horse. Sorry.
It's pretty cool though.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's go to people we may know in the film. Go ahead and start us off, Mark.
Well, the first one will be James Franciscus, who plays Tuck Kirby. We saw him recently in Beneath Planet of the Apes, which we covered, The Outsider, on TV, Mr. Novak, The Investigators, Longstreet, Naked City, and Hunter.
Yeah, and not the Hunter starring Fred Dryer.
Yeah, exactly. It's an older version.
An older version in the 70s. And actually, when we did Planet of the Apes, I took a look at a couple episodes of Mr. Novak on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I want to try and watch that series and see what they have available on that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Next up, we have Gila Golan. I don't know if it's Gila or Gila Golan. She was only in a very few projects. One, Armand Flint, Three on a Couch, and this movie, of course, and I Dream of Jeannie. I found very little things.
Yeah. A lot of these character actors or people that are in these particular movies come and go, and usually just hired players. So it kind of works out in that format, but I'm sure we'll probably recognize her in I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
Next up, Lawrence Naismith, who played Professor Bromley. We'll remember him from Jason and the Argonauts as Argos, Village of the Damned, which I like, A Night to Remember, Diamonds Are Forever, which is a James Bond movie, right?
Correct.
And Cleopatra. Ooh, awesome. Good movie. Sink, The Bismarck, and The Dam Busters.
Yeah. Yeah, and he in a Night to Remember, he played Captain Smith, and I recognized him right off. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, and I do remember him from Jason and the Argonauts. So
yeah, briefly. I remember that too.
Yeah. And did you ever see The Dam Busters?
No, I have not.
That one was about the planes that were dropping skipping bombs that skipped along the surface of the water behind the dam to sink at the appropriate spot and then blow up the dam from underneath.
Ooh, that's interesting.
There's a whole nerdy mathematic formula involved with that.
Oh yeah, I would be surprised. Wow, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah. Next up, we have Richard Charleston. Next up, we have Richard Carlson, who played Champ. He was in The Magnetic Monster, It Came from Outer Space, and oddly enough, Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I had to go back and remind myself of. I had to look it up on IMDb, and it's like, oh yeah, it is him. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah. An older movie, black and white.
and a very good one at that.
Yes.
Not Harryhausen, though. It's one of the Universal monsters.
Yep. And we're going to go move on to supporting cast, which would be Curtis Arden, who played Lope, only in this and a TV show called Pretenders. That's the only time we've ever seen him.
Yep, that's the only two things. Next up, we have Frida Jackson, who played Tia Zarina. She was in The Brides of Dracula, Tale of Two Cities, The Shadow of the Cat, and Clash of the Titans, in which she played one of the Stygian witches, which, those ladies are always fun to have over for a party, because they'll make you the main course.
Yeah, I know. And they have to share that eye.
Yeah, they have to share one eye. And she was in a couple episodes of Blake 7.
Oh, cool. And lastly, we have Gustavo Rojo as Carlos. Mm-hmm. And we have seen him before in Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, He was a very prolific actor in the Spanish language TV. 170 credits with over 1,000 episodes of TV and various shows in the 1970s. So he's been around a long time.
Yeah, but not in the States. But
yeah,
it was kind of reminds me of that one guy from the Last Planet of the Apes film we did. You know, the one that was in like I think it was All My Children, who has been in like All My Children since like its inception.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but this guy, I looked up his IMDb credits. You know, he has 170 total credits, and I looked all the TV episodes up, and I added those up, and it's like this is over 1,000.
Wow, it just goes to show you they're working actors, and in TV you could get those acting roles, or even just voiceover work too, because the TV show could be in the States, but they need somebody who's Spanish to actually speak those lines for as like a Spanish voiceover. So they could have like as many credits that go off the rails. It's ridiculous. And same thing with American actors too, for over in Spain, because or overseas. They can make such great money doing that.
Yes.
Now, mind you, the translation might not work as well, because I've known this from a lot of actors that do this that go from Japanese to American. and they have like a ton of credits too, because you know there's not that many people that know how to speak the lines as an American that were meant for Japanese. Same thing with, you know, Spanish to American. And it vice versa. It works the other way too when it comes to like for American to Spanish. And it works a lot too, because a lot of our stuff that is very popular goes to those countries, and you need to have that actor. And, you know, these people are needed, because I don't know many of you that listen or watch movies that are actually in another foreign language, and then you hear the dubbed version, because there's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and oddly enough, there are some, you know, like we have some bilingual stars like Anya Taylor-Joy, who can overdub her language or her dialogue in Spanish, which is really cool. So
yeah. Anya Taylor, what was it? Johnson?
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Joy, yeah, she's like that as well. Yeah, she's from a Spanish descent too.
Yeah, she's from Argentina, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe so. And there's another actress that comes to the tip of my brain, which I'm forgetting, but we won't get into that, because the one I'm thinking of actually knows Mandarin Chinese. Ooh, she's such a great actress too.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll move on. We're going to go into the movie, which is called The Valley of Gwangi. So let's move forward, Jerry. What's the next step on our agenda?
Okay, we have our general thoughts of the movie. So what do you think, Mark?
Well, I enjoy this movie. The reason why I've been exposed to this movie is because I've always said this I'm a huge creature feature kind of kid. And every Thanksgiving, well, days of leading up to Thanksgiving, I should say, they would have on WWOR or Channel 11 on in New York City, they would have creature feature or monster movies during that time, during the holiday seasons, from like before Thanksgiving all the way until after like New Year's. And this would be one of the movies that they would actually show on Thanksgiving Day. And I would argue to watch something like this, and this was always on it. And I think we always left it on in the background of my grandmother's house just for fun. So I always watched The Valley of Gwangi. And the one thing that my father enjoyed about it was the Western aspect of it, because you have all the cowboys within it. And then I got the monster out of it. You know, you got the Gwangi himself, or you got that miniature horse, or the cool aspect of it. And it was a Ray Harry Hausen film, and that was inspired by like Willis O'Brien. And it was something that I was always attracted to, because as we all know, you know, Adrenalheads, I'm a huge kaiju fan. I love Godzilla. I love anything that is stop motion. I love these kind of films. So I just embrace them. And to me, it just gives me that comfort of, I'm just going to say the comfort of holidays for me. But to me, it's all year round. I just love these kind of movies, and so does Jerry. But that's what I get out of it.
Yeah, and for me, it's like this is another another in the long line of Harryhausen movies that I absolutely love. It's like I don't know of any Harryhausen movie I don't like.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, there isn't one that you can't really say, "Oh, that sucked." Come on, if you say they suck, then you're either a hater, or B, you've never been exposed to them and enjoyed them.
Yeah, and for me, cowboys versus dinosaurs. Hey, I'm all in. It's like I'm in with it.
Yeah, well, we've already had Cowboys versus Aliens with Harrison Ford.
Yes, we did. and one thing, and again, this takes me back to my childhood. Like as far as back as I can remember, up until about maybe 1990,
mm-hmm.
They would always have like the Saturday afternoon creature features. They would do a pair of movies, starting at noon, going to 4:00, and then take you into the Saturday evening stuff or Saturday afternoon into evening lineup. But they always had something like this or like a Godzilla film,
mm-hmm.
whatever, and what have you. So I recorded a lot of them on VHS and with the commercials, of course, but this being one of them. And this is how I got exposed to a lot of Harryhausen stuff. And now that I say that, it's like, you watch Monsters, Inc., right?
Oh, yeah. I love Monsters, Inc.
Do you remember the name of the restaurant in Monsters, Inc.?
No, I did not.
They said they were going to go to a fancy place called Harryhausen's.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I just remember when I first watched this, my friends and I are watching Monsters, Inc. for the first time. And there's a bunch of like engineers sitting in the theater, and when I heard Harryhausen's, like I kind of like just squealed. And
you lit up.
Lit up, and I was like, and my friends are looking at me like I'm nuts. And I was like, what are you on about? It's like, I'll tell you after the movie.
All right. Well, to make everybody else squeal too. All right. We're recording this on November 14th and 2022. So I'm going to say November 5th was Godzilla Day. And that's a huge day for me. And I spent all day that day. Yeah. I kind of took a lounge day, and that's all I did was watch Godzilla movies on YouTube with a bunch of kaiju fans. And but to give you a little bit of information of what's going on in Godzilla history or what's going on, we're expected to get another Toho Godzilla movie, everybody. And Toho has also launched a few shorts as well that you could find on their YouTube site. So check that out for those that are interested. Obviously, more stuff that was influenced by Ray Harry Hausen, Melissa Bryan, and all that good stuff. So if you're a kaiju fan or a big monster fan, check that out, because this movie, The Valley of Gwangi, falls in line with that particular aspect. And I just like passing on the news.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And now we're going to move on to our favorite scenes in the movie. So Mark, let's start off with you.
Obviously, with anything for any particular movie like this, it's the intro. And I thought it was really great with the lady in Gwangi being within it from the Forbidden Valley.
Mm-hmm.
The witch states it flat out. They will perish. And it's like impending doom right there. But the story of the Cowboys and Indians for the show. And it was really interesting for its time for me. And it's something that I usually gravitated towards because my father and I don't really have a common ground. My father always loved Westerns, and I really didn't really get into this until later on in life as I got to know my dad. I actually watched a lot of Deadwood with my father, but I still have to watch it from the beginning to end because I sporadically watched it with him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all about the pizzazz for its time. It gave me that whole Nope feeling. Remember Nope?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole introduction of the cowboy and everything. I really enjoyed it for that aspect. I do enjoy Westerns too, but it did play on the American Indian motif at the time, and I thought that was amazing. The woman diving in the pool, to me, was a bit extreme, but really held me on edge as a kid.
Yeah.
But the showmanship I just loved it. And I was really fearful for the lady and the horse.
Yeah, well, you're riding an animal that weighs upwards of 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Off a ledge into a pool of water.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that one I believe was the Harryhausen horse, but
yeah, it's probably a piece of clay, and it just goes.
Yeah. Exactly. With a splash. Splash from it. Okay.
Not a little droplet.
Okay. Yeah, so my first one is the first viewing of El Diablo.
Huh.
So when what's her name? Chef. I blanked on her name for a second. TJ. TJ brings out, shows Tuck the little horse for the first time. She said, like Carlos found him out in the wilderness or whatever.
Or desert.
And, and just says, tries to tempt it, tempts him with a little piece of sugar. And it's like, oh, this is so cute.
It's so funny too because they make a mention of Ringling Brothers when they talk about the horse as well. Like this would be perfect for a Ringling Brothers circus because at the time that was still prominent. Nowadays, it's kind of if a kid hears that they'll be like, "Dad, what's Ringling Brothers?"
Yes. Yeah, but that just that whole sequence, and then you said she shows them the what she's going to do with El Diablo is have him have a platform on the back of a horse with this little horse riding on the back of a horse.
But it's also funny they talk about El Diablo, but that's kind of the white man thing too.
Yes.
He the devil. He the white devil.
Yeah, but I thought it was just just a cute little thing. So
yeah, it was cute.
All right, so let's go on with your second one.
Well, we're moving up a little bit forward too because a lot of things have happened within the film. There's always character development and how they talk and what they want to do and utilize certain things. But seeing the herbivore being eaten by Gwangi after the group followed the flying reptile, that was, to me, was really intense. And I enjoyed that in a sense because it's more, animation from Ray Harry Hausen. Yeah. And I just love the stop motion within these moments. The fact that all the animals within that time see humans as a threat, especially when Gwangi is being lassoed by the cowboys. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Because that was when was it they were following that little kid. One was when Lope got picked up by the pterodactyl.
Yes,
and ends up gets picked up by a pterodactyl with talons and ends up with no scratches on him whatsoever.
Yeah, or no puncture marks, nothing.
No, nothing.
Well, because they were limited for their time. Come on, you got to grant it that this movie was in '69. So
yeah, I got it.
Well, actually, it's in the 60s, 69, but they're trying to appeal to more of a kid marketplace still. So you don't want to have it, at that time, I don't think the ratings board was doing R rating at that time too much. Okay. But, they're trying to appeal to kids.
Yeah, but mine, I did like what you mentioned is when they chase that other little plant eater, like you said, and it gets picked up by Gwangi, like it just gets jumped on. Like
the Triceratops you're talking about?
No, the little, I almost want to call it,
like a brachiosaur?
No, tinier than that. It was almost like the little running. They're normally in Jurassic Park, you'd see them in packs. I forget what the heck they're named, but they're about the size of a man.
Oh yes,
and they're chasing it down, and it tries to run off.
Gallimimus.
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it runs off, but it gets jumped on by Gwangi.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, and this is where we first see Gwangi.
Yes.
And they're like, holy crap, what the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we got to get that. Hold on. We can knock it out and then we can take it.
And all they see is when they look at this thing, they see dollar signs. They say, when they get the idea to try and capture it.
Yeah. To me, a lot of these sequences, we wait so long. I kind of equate this to the big monster phenomenon that we always get with any kaiju kind of movie. You don't get that until the very end. So, mind you, we're probably moving in what? Jerry, would you say about 40 minutes into the movie?
45 to 50 minutes into it.
Yeah, so you don't get all this action and sequencing until towards the end of the movie, because that's where they put all their money into with the stop motion or the effects for the creatures that we want to see on the screen. And to me, I always look forward to that, but it's always great for that anticipation. All my friends as a kid would always say, why do you love these movies? You have to wait so long to see the stupid monster. Why? It's like, well, honestly, that's because I love these things. It's all about the anticipation. You have to embrace and enjoy the story to get to that point, and then you get rewarded. It's like eating all your vegetables and meat, and then you get your dessert at the end.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Am I crazy in saying that, or?
No, you're not crazy at all.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, because the reason they find this valley, is because they chase the horse into that big crack in the rock, and, and when they follow it there, they say, "Oh, hell, there's this whole valley behind here."
Yeah, and there's more things there that they could trap and take and use as like their own Ringling and Barnum and Bailey circus.
But my question on this one, even as a kid, saying, if a pterodactyl can fly, why did it limit itself to the valley?
Very true.
There's more food outside the valley. They can go pick up calves and whatever, if there's calves or other small animals. And
the valley is a desert, too, so there's only so much that's going to be out there anyway, so they'll be starving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just a question,
good question, though.
Sorry to bring logic into it, but
yeah, well, I guess we have to suspend sort of disbelief for the fact that, this is a movie and these are fantastical creatures that we're seeing. Yeah. And they only have so much money in there. We're not at Jurassic World kind of money at this point in their careers, Yeah,
we're like the Wish.com version of Jurassic World.
Yeah, with claymation. With
Dynamation or whatever it was called.
Exactly.
Okay. So what's your next one, Mark?
Next one would be the end fight scene with Gwangi and the elephant in that Coliseum. Now, what I always loved in the idea about this particular movie, it's a Coliseum. Wow. That is amazing for the fact that I don't ever remember seeing that in any American history books or even like near Mexico in that case. That's something that you see in Greece.
Yeah. I think it was I almost want to call it a jumbo bullfighting ring.
Yeah.
So they were built like that. So.
All right. I just thought it was intense, and it was one of the best 20 stop motion scenes I've seen in my life by Ray Harry Hausen. I just love it, just the way it was presented. Now, mind you, the Gwangi himself was kind of bluish, standing out in front of everything. But you got that elephant, and the elephant had to be created because obviously if they really started hurting elephants, that would be bad. Yeah. But in the fact that they actually had to create a living creature for this particular movie, something that we know of now, that we've seen physically. Well, I've seen physically in circuses, and now we can't see them anymore, or in zoos, and sometimes now we can't even see them.
Yeah, sometimes they're not out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my next one is rewinding a little bit, was the Gwangi attack with the it fighting like I almost want to call it like a pseudo triceratops. It kind of had the similar shield on its head.
Yes. Yeah.
See, and that triggers, when that fight triggers, it's the Cowboys are able to get back away through the crack, except for Mr. Carlos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and oddly enough, this being the late '60s and Star Trek's, red shirt deaths, he is actually wearing a red shirt at the time.
But it is '69, so
just apropos of Star Trek. So I don't know if that was like an unintentional homage to it. It's like, oh, guy in the red shirt, no, he's dead. So,
yeah, they didn't have the song go.
Yeah, but see, that was another thing. And then they when Gwangi chases them through that crack, kind of pushes its way through and gets an avalanche and gets knocked out. So that's when they're able to catch him.
Yeah, my last one would be the fiery death of Gwangi within the Coliseum itself.
In the church, actually.
Church, yeah. Well, that's literally what it was. But we all got those Jurassic Park kind of vibes from this particular movie, and I'm starting to see that's where the writer actually created Jurassic Park from, in some respects.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And mine, but going back to when Gwangi escapes the cage, I say Gwangi escapes the cage, chaos ensues, and I'm assuming the professor died when that cage wall fell on him. So
I'm assuming so too.
Yeah, because I don't think that cage is made of butter. So
No, me neither.
yeah, so I think he died. So. Alrighty, so was that it for you?
That was it for me.
Okay, so let's move on to interesting facts and unknown facts about the movie. So go ahead and start us off.
All right, so interesting and unknown facts about the movie, The Valley of Gwangi. So the first one, when this film was first conceived, it was supposed to have been a follow-up to King Kong from 1933, but was never made. However, an early black and white version of Cowboys in Africa footage was shot and wound up being used in Mighty Joe Young in 1949.
Interesting. I did not know that one.
Yeah, I did. I knew that a long time ago because I love Mighty Joe Young.
Yeah, oh, it has been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah. Okay, next is, this was the last film where Ray Harry Hausen's stop-motion effects technique was being billed as Dynamation. Starting with his next film, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, Dynamation would be rebranded as Dynarama.
Yep. Did we do the Golden Voyage? I know we did Eye of the Tiger, right?
Yeah, we did Eye of the Tiger.
Okay, and that was in Dynarama.
Yeah.
Well, next up, special effects master Ray Harryhausen has said the sequence of the elephant performing its acts and its subsequent fight with Gwangi were done with no shots of a real elephant because no such animal was available. So, yeah. So, no animals were harmed in the filming of this particular movie, everybody. However, there is an elephant in the very early scene of the Wild West show's parade through the town, and Harryhausen's animation puppet is a perfect double for it. Awesome.
Nice. Well, he is a skilled sculptor.
Yes, he is.
Or was.
Was. Yeah, was.
Sorry, Mr. Harryhausen.
Yes.
Leading lady Gilla Golan was redubbed, but the voice actress remains unidentified. And I did not know that until now. So.
Yeah, well, like you read these at the time of when we record, so just throw them in at times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next up, the sound that Gwangi makes is that of a camel and a raspberry run backwards.
Yeah.
So it's backwards and a camel.
Yeah, well, they can, I've seen like, because I know when Star Wars did a lot of their, the engine noises, a lot of them were taken from like airplanes, like old airplanes and, altered a little bit.
Yep. Or just like taking a wrench and going to power lines and hitting them and getting the sound of like a laser blast. Pew, pew, Or with Godzilla back in the day is taking a double bass and detuning it as you roll your bow over it and go down. And detune and go up tuning or tuning up with it. And that's how you get there. There's so many ways. And you gotta love Foley artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Use everything and anything.
Exactly.
Okay. Next is the roping of Gwangi was achieved by having the actors hold on to ropes tied to a monster stick that was in the back of a Jeep. The Jeep and the stick, when filmed with Gwangi, are on the back of a rear projection plate and hidden by his body, and the portions of rope attached to his body are painted wires that are matched with real ropes. That that part I knew because I know they've done other things with similar techniques.
Yeah.
Like with Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, you have a little bit more background in that in the sense of like probably with Medusa's scene, I would think.
Well, I was thinking with Pegasus as well. So.
Oh, with the up and down, you talking with the wings?
No, I'm talking when he first roped Pegasus.
Oh, yes. So to show activity, but in a sense, they're using the rope.
Yeah, live action with a rope attached to a model.
Ah, yeah. So to show the physicality within it. Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, whereas all Harryhausen's past films had an approved rating from the Motion Picture Association America, the modern rating system was introduced around this time, and this was the first film of his to get a G rating. So me talking about getting ratings, this is where it comes into, ladies and gentlemen. So it was approved apparently by the Motion Picture Association of America.
Nice. Okay. Gwangi is a Native American word that means lizard. Interesting.
I actually knew that. I don't know why, but I knew that.
That I did not know.
All right. So in 1971, Warner Brothers cleverly reissued this film in the USA on a double bill with When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth from 1970.
Interesting. I don't remember that movie. Now I'm gonna have to look that one up.
I do. It wasn't a great film.
Was not a great. Okay.
No.
Would you be considered a guilty pleasure kind of film, or not even that good?
Pretty much a guilty pleasure movie if you were smoking a lot of weed and eating a lot of Cheerios.
Okay. Next is the film was in production for over a year and a half, and the dinosaur rope sequence alone took more than 2.5 months to complete, which I completely believe. But shortly before production ended, the studio management changed, and the new bosses had little confidence in the film, which was released with very little publicity and failed at the box office, which sucks.
It does. Some of these movies are disregarded and are left to the feeling of like these are for kids, which they are. But Jerry and I are pretty much kids at heart, and we still love these movies regardless. And I'm sure a lot of you listeners are out there too.
Yeah.
Next up, special effects pioneer Willis O'Brien began pre-production at the RKO Path Studios on a storyboard by Harold Lamb about a huge T-Rex called Gwangi, with John Speaks as producer in 1941. The project was canceled when studio management was changed. Interesting.
Why does that happen so much?
Well, we got the Valley of Gwangi at least now.
Yeah, I'll take it. The film was also known as The Valley Where Time Stood Still during production.
Which kind of falls into kind of those based movies that we know, like Journey to the Center of the Earth, things of that nature. But I think this name is a little bit more real because of where it's based on and the name of Gwangi itself, and it works, especially for where it's located too with the cowboys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up, due to a mishearing of the word fuck by the BBFC, the 1995 video release was only given a 12 certificate. This was corrected for the 2003 DVD, and the rating changed to a U certification.
Now that's British? Is that the British one? Okay.
Yeah. Or even Australian.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the artwork, the Gwangi is green, like a giant lizard, also known as dinosaur, would be. In the movie, however, Gwangi and other prehistoric creatures are a dark purple color.
Yeah, it's like dark purple or bluish.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But that's based upon how many times the movie has been remastered. The colors get a little bit changed.
Yeah. Is there a remastered set of Harryhausen movies?
I know they have redone them on Blu-ray.
All right.
But that's all I know. I have 2 box sets of Harryhausen, and one is fantasy and one is of sci-fi. I do not have this one on the box set, but I'm told that they do have a Blu-ray set of all 3. So it's like monsters, and one's fantasy and one's sci-fi.
Alrighty.
Something to look up.
Yeah, let me take that.
Next up, filmed in 1967, but not released until 1969 due to extensive post-production problems.
Yeah, and I believe it. Given what we know about like when Jason and the Argonauts was made, the skeleton sequence took about a year, I think, to get all that properly done. Yeah,
as I recall, it took a long time because Harryhausen was so. You have to factor in they were doing it how they do stop motion. It takes a long time to really get that stuff going. And a lot of that stuff is done after practical filming is done, you know?
Yeah, and I believe it. Especially when they said, the roping sequence alone took a couple of months.
Yeah, because they have to calculate. It's like, we got to get the actual film footage of these people physically doing this to match up with the actual...
the model.
The models, yeah.
To be able to get the model to match in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Next up is Gustavo Rojo is dubbed by Robert Ridey. That I did not know either. So his accent must be too much. So.
Yeah, who knows? Next up, composer Jerome Moros used his own music when scoring Gwangi, where the opening title theme is identical to that used in the climactic Blanco Canyon sequence in the 1956 big budget western The Big Country, which starred Gregory Peck, Charlton Heston, and Chuck Connors.
Really?
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm going to have to check that out too. So
Yeah.
I don't even remember the last time I've seen The Big Country.
I probably had seen it when I was a little kid.
It must be at least 40 years for me.
Yeah, same here. Well, I was a little kid.
Technically, this is a British film shot in Spain by a British director with an American lead actor, an Israeli actress, and a supporting cast of British and Spanish actors, post-produced in England and released through a U.S. distributor. That's a mouthful.
That is.
Although I thought Gila Golan was Polish. Is she Israeli?
I don't know. Something to look up.
All right.
Look that up while I continue with the next one. All right. Weekly Variety, April 30th, 1969, gave this film a scathing review, beginning with, "There is little to recommend this pick to either filmgoer or exhibitor," describing it as dubious cinematic goulash and criticizing the special effects as crude, poor imitations of any number of earlier films. Franciscus and Golan were described as neither an acting duo nor bankable one.
Nice. Yeah, okay. Okay, she was born in Poland, but her career started as an Israeli fashion model because her, let's see, she was discovered at a train station during the German occupation and later sent to a boarding school in France before emigrating to Israel after the Second World War.
Interesting.
So we're both right.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, I'll take it. Okay, and finally, there was a comic book made of this movie, Valley of Gwangi, done in December 1969, and the movie poster art was used for the cover. Yes,
I do see that at comic book conventions a lot, and it's very sought after. And it's expensive, by the way.
I was going to say it must be expensive because it's over 50 years old.
Yes, yeah. It's part of the golden age of comics. So
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you get your hands on it, it's very worth it.
I would love to take a look at it. I don't know if it's been digitally scanned anywhere.
I'm pretty sure somebody has. Usually you can find PDF versions of it online. So all you have to do is do a little bit of a search.
Take a look?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to quotes. So, Mark, what do you got?
I grabbed my quotes as I was going, but I didn't really pay attention to who was saying it. But the one that first caught my attention was, "Love is for Latins, Javi." I'm pretty sure you know where that was coming from.
Nice. Okay.
I'm assuming it was the one white guy that we all know.
Yeah. Okay. My first one is when the professor and Kirby are talking about El Diablo, and they're getting and they're kind of like talking at the same time. So this is kind of hard to directly quote, but you got the professor saying, he's dreaming of all the adulation he'll receive back at in the UK, saying Galileo, Newton, Bromley, maybe even Lord Bromley. And then you got Tuck talking, saying, and if this was a cartoon, you'd see dollar signs in his eyes saying, Barnum and Bailey, Buffalo Bill, Ringling Brothers, we'll pit them all against each other and take the highest bidder. I was like, guys, just take it easy. And it's like, and all this over, because the professor noticed, like, it's like, you're not supposed to be alive. You were supposed to have been extinct like 50 million years ago.
Yeah, right.
Alrighty.
The last one I would have would be, I think this was from the head of the what would you call it, a circus, or I forget. But he goes, "Javi, you must be foam loco. These are the blanks we use within the show."
Yeah, because they say, "Wait, why does it have any effect?"
Yeah,
just making noise is all you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I got 3 quick ones here, or actually 2 quick ones, 1 long one.
Okay.
There's when they're talking about after they bring back Gwangi, they have the professor and TJ. They had argued for a little bit, and she says, you can have them once we're done the world tour, and Tuck says, "What's all this about a world tour? I've got, and she says, I've got it all planned out. We'll play London, Madrid." And she says, "You're forgetting something, aren't you?" She says, "Oh yes, New York." He says, no, not New York, Wyoming. He's like, we're supposed to have we're supposed to go buy a ranch there because they had talked earlier, about going, trying to get him to settle down. And she said, and she had said, I'm going to, sell the circus or sell the show. And she said, but yes, that was before. She says, we can do the tour and then buy the ranch. And that's what he told her. And she says, no, same old Tuck. He says, not the same old Tuck, but a brand new kind of TJ. Suddenly all cut up in a world of glitter. Leave me out. That dreamboat has sailed. And she says, as you like. And after this one, he says, well, that's it. I'm sorry for you. He's like, because you're heading for a place that I just left. You won't like it very much. Okay, and then one of the other ones is after Gwangi gets knocked out. My one very, very short one here. It's like, where's Carlos? I was like, well, Carlos is right there, but you just can't see him because he's probably inside Gwangi. Or at least parts of him.
Parts of him, yeah. He was very tasty.
Okay, and then the last one is like, because you know how the gypsy lady Tia, what's her name, Tia something,
yeah,
had sent the little guy into the cage, and as he's trying to I think he's trying to free Gwangi, he says, you have the announcer of the show saying, I have the honor to make the announcement of the most important announcement of this era. Says, what you are about to see has never before been seen by human eyes, captured and brought back alive by Miss T.J. Breckenridge. It says, Gwangi the Great, living wonder of the prehistoric era. Curtain goes up, and Gwangi's chewing on the little guy. And I remember seeing that as a kid. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. What an idiot.
Well, he didn't peek behind the curtain before he said it.
Yes, I was like, and the announcer heard the guy yelling, and it's like, oh God, it's just. But yeah, that's something that's never been seen by human eyes. He wasn't lying. Like,
yeah, unless somebody gave him a toothpick, and then that'll be a different story. Wow, dinosaurs do pick their teeth.
I guess so. All right, but that's it. That does it for my quotes. So
awesome.
Yeah, let's move on to the rating. So, Mark, what is your rating?
Well, based on a Ray Harry Hausen scale, and I'm talking about overall because I've seen all his films. I already mentioned that I already have 2 box sets. I have the fantasy and I have the sci-fi stuff. I should get the monster one. Unfortunately, I don't have them. But out of between 1 and 10, I would give it, at a Harry Hausen scale, a 7.2.
All right. Yep. I give it an 8. This is not, not the best, not my favorite Harryhausen, but it is up there, because I really like the entire collection. But this one's an 8 for me. So it's not the best, but it's still watchable. And it has, prior to my rewatch last week and yesterday. Yeah. I still love it.
It's a really good movie. It's something that can entertain you. If you're going to do a Ray Harryhausen marathon, I would suggest this one to be inputted into that, just to break things up, because he has so many movies that are so different. You have fantasy, you have sci-fi, and you have big monster films. So this is one of them that could be implemented in there. So you could actually put it in your marathon. And I'm talking multiple day. Yeah, there are so many. So you could do this, because this movie is an hour and a half long.
I would say, my favorite has to be like a toss-up. It's almost equal in my eyes, like between Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger and Clash of the Titans.
Oh, okay, cool.
I love those two. So.
Yeah, I know you do. I love Clash of the Titans as well. A lot of people don't see that because it wasn't... Clash of the Titans came later on. That was towards the end of Harryhausen's career. I think that was one of the last few that he had done, right?
I think that was his last one prior to retiring in the 80s.
Exactly. So... And then it was Clash of Titans. What was the other one you were saying?
Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, Sinbad, I actually did see in the theater. And that was, to me, that is my ultimate, because the fact that you got the tiger in there, and I just love the other characters in there. But there are other Sinbad movies, too, that I would, oh, man. Oh, there's one with the multi-arms. I love it.
I want to say that's... Golden Voyage.
Yep. Yeah, that was the Golden Voyage. And you had the Cyclops in there too, I think. So yeah, there's so many films too. So you guys have a lot to choose from too. Just go through the catalog. You could probably, like I stated, I have 2 of the box sets. They are still available. You could get them on Blu-ray now, from what I could tell. They're reasonably priced, so you could probably find them on Amazon. But there's one that's sci-fi, one that's fantasy, and there's one that's monster-based. So look for them.
Yeah. It's always good.
They're called the Harry Hausen collections.
Yeah, and I see. And I was scrolling through it while you were talking. It's like there's Sinbad collection, there's the Harry Hausen collection. There's it's like I want one with all of them.
Oh, I know that, but I have the 2 DVD ones, so that I got those back in the early 2000s, and that's all I have is on DVD. What they have done now, who knows? But I'm sure you could probably find a lot of these films on Amazon Prime. Or if not, you could probably find them on Apple iTunes or through your Apple TV. You can find probably some sort of collection when they do sales like that. So keep your eyes posted. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. All right. And with that, we'll move on to our less popular movies, or as we like to say sometimes, your guilty pleasure movies. So, Mark.
Well, with mine, I have to go with a Harry Hausen film. And that would be Mysterious Island.
Really?
From 1961.
Nice.
I thought it was pretty cool because it had so many different things that you could pull from. And I just enjoyed it as a kid because of just the effects in it. And it just gave me that mystery, kind of like Sinbad to it. So that's why I love it.
Nice. Okay, and mine's not a science fiction one, but is a kind of a biopic. It was from 1981, starring Faye Dunaway. Do you know which one that one is?
1981?
Yeah, 1981, starring Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway. No, it can't be Tarzan.
No.
It
is Mommy Dearest.
Oh, no. Oh, do I have to get the coat hanger for you, Jerry, please? Really?
No, you have to scrub the bathroom floor.
Ah, darn it. Well, no wired coat hangers.
It is one of those just like, if any of that, like even if half of that was true, it's like, oh my God, poor Christina.
Yeah.
No, but I do like one of Joan Crawford's lines from a movie called The Women, when she tells off a group of ladies. I don't know if you remember that one, the one line, and it stuck in my head the first time I heard it. And she says, there's a name for you ladies, but it isn't used in high society outside of a kennel. And that's the 1940s way of doing it.
Oh, wow. So wild. The 1940s way.
I love her. Good actress. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like, but I love the movie.
It's to me, it was always an interesting movie.
Exactly. But yeah, again, it's like, and it's one I hadn't seen in a while, and I remember watching it like this past summer, and it's like, and I was trying to think of one, and I was trying to make sure I didn't double up one of my previous ones, and I dedefinitely know this one wasn't on one of the previous lists. So. Alrighty. So, what do we have for next time? Do we have feedback or anything?
We got a feedback from somebody from YouTube, and I kind of lost their name. I'm sorry, but they really enjoy our Harry Hausen stuff. So do me a favor. If you guys are out there, please send it directly to our Gmail, which would be AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com, because that way I could guarantee the name. I just went through my emails 2 seconds ago and I couldn't find anything, and I thought I had saved, but I had seen feedback through YouTube, and I'm like trying to remember it, and I could not find yours. So I would love to have you guys send it directly to me. But thank you for following us on there too. That's amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
But we'll move right along into, where can listeners hear us or any podcast recommendations? So, Jerry.
I recently did Poltergeist on Watched It in the 80s with Damien.
That I listened to, and I enjoyed it so much. We actually talked about that, too, on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition, because it was one of the movies that scared the living bejesus out of me as a kid.
Yeah. I've always loved that one. So granted, like some of the effects are kind of dated, just a few of them, but some of them hold up.
Yeah. And speaking of, where else can listeners hear me? Obviously, you could hear Jerry here on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast when we cover Ray Harry Hausen movies, when we do the Apes movies. Jeez, there's so many others that we do and we cover, just obscure ones. I think you and I are the ones that are doing the obscure ones, and everybody else is doing kind of the straight-laced action fantasy and stuff. But you're on here for like the more interesting, provocative ones that are out there that people forget, which I do enjoy. That's why I love having you on. But you could also hear me on Panels to Pixels podcast on the Next Level Online Radio Podcast Network with Steve Brown. Right now, there's been a hiatus, just like with this. You'll probably get this I'm going to say towards the end of November, but because, circumstances, a lot of life happens, a lot of things have happened between Steve and I, so it happened with Adrenaline Cinema as well as Panels to Pixels, but by the time you receive this, you'll have been caught up with She-Hulk, Umbrella Academy, and all that cool stuff. We'll probably have already had Werewolf by Night, and we'll be jumping into the Guardians of the Galaxy special that is on Disney+. So you could hear me on Panels to Pixels podcast on the Next Level Online Radio Podcast Network. You could also hear me on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition, which I just mentioned. I believe the last one Rob and I had done, which we just finished recording about 2 weeks ago, was The Mummy from 2017 with Tom Cruise, and how we could fix and change that particular movie so it's somewhat watchable.
Well, my solution to that one is don't release it.
Well, that's what his thought was as well, and many other people's thoughts. So you can also hear me on the Podcast Network. We wrapped up everything when it came to Sandman, so Jamie Dimmick and I were covering Sandman cast. So hopefully within the time that you get this, you actually do get Jason X. That's what we're going to be covering next up on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. Sorry, Jerry, I forgot. But that will be released too. And that will probably be for the holidays. So it's a good Christmas one because it's in space. It's kind of cold. So, But you look out for that one as well. So that's where you can hear us. And with that, to submit your feedback, all you have to do is go to, because like I mentioned before, the best ways to send your feedback is through our Facebook group or our email. So all you have to do with our Facebook group is go to facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. For every movie that we're covering, all you have to do is look for the image that's there and comment below that image and leave your thoughts. And we get them right away, and I'll implement them when we're actually recording. Or you could just go to and just your email and just send out a regular texted email and go to AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com. Just write out a thorough email in text format, or you could just record yourself, your voice, and send that as an attachment, and we can pop it right into the podcast as we're recording. Obviously, I like to leave images ahead of time so that way people have enough time to watch the movie and then get back to us with their thoughts. And if you did record yourself, that would be amazing. That way we could have you literally on the podcast, and we could comment about it. We'll try to answer any questions that you have. If you do subscribe to Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, please leave a review if possible. It'd be amazing if you guys, that's how we get more noticed. That's how we get more fans, as well as word of mouth. So all you have to do is talk to a friend, leave a review for Apple Podcasts. I don't care if you hate it or you love it or both. Who knows? But, just leave one if you can, and it'd be amazing. And obviously you're hearing us on your podcast player of choice. All you have to do is recommend that to a friend. Tell them, hey, they can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Deezer, or whatever podcast player of choice. I think it's over 30 different podcast players of choices that they actually have us on right now. And as always, I always love to promote what's going on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. So I highly recommend that you go to the Pirate Core Entertainment website, which would be piratecoreentertainment.com. Therein, you could actually check out all the other podcasts that are out there. Run for Your Lives podcast with Daphne and Paik, as they cover large monster movies, horror movies, natural disaster movies, anything that makes your run for your lives and stuff like that. watched it in the 80s podcast with Damien and his minicast, which, Jerry has been on. And they discuss TV and movies that were done within the 80s. Fantasy Picks Movie Edition with Rob and his guests as they cover movies that you fantasized to change that didn't do well in the theater, or you said, why did I go see that movie and how could I make it better? Well, that's what we do. That's what they do there. It didn't have a great fan response, or in general that the people had high hopes and just want to change it. Listen to them and their thoughts or how they can change a film, and with either new actors, directors, composers, writers, effects artists, whatever. But they also do a top 5 of genres and actors as well, like a football fantasy league. So check that out. All you have to do is go to the piratecoreentertainment.com website. And that's pretty much it. I think we talked a lot about the Valley of Gwangi.
Yes, we did.
And those of you who love lizards or dinosaurs, we're sorry. None of them were hurt in the process of creating that movie, so don't feel bad. So with that, that was Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jerry.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.